Cool. All right. Well, look, we'll kick off the session today. While we go through the intro, I'm sure there'll be more people that are excited to join our session on MYOB Unlock Acumatica, MYOB Acumatica. So today's session is all about how do we optimize our labour costs with smarter workforce management using Wageloch. So Wageloch has been one of our partnering products that we offer to our clients. So today's session is going to be very sort of useful just to get a bit of an understanding about sort of rostering, time and attendance tools that are available, and how to maximize obviously your workforce to make sure that there's better planning and so on. So these sessions, if you are new to these sessions, we host them on a monthly basis. It's all about how do we unlock, sometimes it's about how do we unlock the potential out of MYOB Acumatica itself. We did a session a couple of last month, which was on the dashboard side of things. And if you do want to go back and look at past sessions that we have hosted, if you do go to our websites, there is a big button up the top that says webinar. If you click on that, it will give you the list of the previous webinars that we have hosted. And if you aren't, there's people in the business that you want to register for these webinars to attend, you can also register their details through there. And there's a lot of information, and it's all about trying to give back to our community. In these webinars, as today's session, it's with Wageloch. So Wageloch are what we call an independent software vendor that integrates directly or quite tightly into MYOB Acumatica. It's Payroll solution. So Wageloch are, as I say, an independent software vendor, or a short abbreviation. We all like our abbreviations, which is independent ISV. So they are one of the ISVs, as I say, that tightly integrate into the MYOB Acumatica platform. So today I've got Anthony on the call. He is we meet up quite regularly with clients and do demonstrations. We've got around about, I think, probably about 12, 15 clients, Anthony, that are using Wageloch with MYOB Acumatica Payroll. We have got a few AlphaBiz clients as well that we've picked up along the way, and we've done some integrations there as well. So it's really important to offer this to a wider bunch of our clients as well. As I say, there was a poll that was put up at the beginning of the session, so hopefully some people have gone through and answered those, but I'm just going to run through those poll questions. And once again, if you can't see the poll, if you click on the poll here, it will take you to the poll questions, and you can start answering those. But I wanted to just go through those. So I guess with a lot of organizations, they may not have a solution in place at the moment, or they may have some sort of clocking of time or time and attendance for their staff members. So just on the first question, what is the biggest management pain point in rostering? Is it timesheet capture, award interpretation, payroll processing, or labour cost blowouts? The second question is, what type of workforce management tools are you using? Are they fully manual? Fully manual, like with spreadsheets. So what is that? What is the pain point there? Is it multiple disconnected systems, basic rostering systems only, a system that's limited with payroll integration, or or if you're already using a full workforce management system but looking for something better? The third question: how long does it take you and the business to process your payroll? So is it less than 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours, half a day, or a full day? I know Anthony and I met with one client recently, and it was they do a weekly payroll. They have staff working over Saturdays and stuff like that. You remember this one, Anthony? And it was a full day on a Sunday to process, to get the payroll ready to process it on a Monday. So I really feel for that lady, that she's, she was really under a lot of pressure, and it was taking a lot of, time outside of business hours to do the payroll. So we come up with a really good solution there. The next question is, what's the biggest risk that you want to eliminate? Is it compliance, award errors? paying staff incorrectly, overstaffing or understaffing, manual processing bottlenecks, or lack of visibility of over real-time labour costs. And the last question, do your managers currently have real-time visibility of who's on shift? Yes, fully. Yes, partially. No, mostly reactive, and no visibility at all. So I'll give you guys a moment to answer those. Okay, so 100% of people on this call today said award interpretations. So great thing is, Anthony can talk to great length about, oh no, let's change it now. Sorry, we've got 50% said time capturing and 50% said award interpretation. Someone obviously changed their answers. 50% of people said they've got multiple disconnected systems, and half said that they're using a workforce management solution but wanting something better. And 100% of people said it takes half a day to process their payroll.
Oof.
Manual processing bottlenecks is 100%. So in regards to the biggest risks that you want to eliminate, so that's that manual processing bottlenecks. And from managers currently, well, it's all changing. 33% said yes, fully, yes, partially, and no, it's mostly reactive. So hopefully that helps with the demonstration today. But I guess, from a personal point of view, I used to manage a manufacturing business before, and it was really, really hard to see, and I know Anthony will talk through this, is like that, one of the great things about Wageloch is that labour cost side of things, and being able to see how, if someone does stay back and do overtime, how that affects your daily rates and so on in the business. I think there's a lot of risk in business where they probably, at a very, sort of quick sort of notion, they'll say, yeah, okay, we need to get this job out the door, so we'll have a bunch of people stay back and do some overtime to finish that. And that does have a major knock-on effect. And the business that I came in to manage had a lot of leakages when it came to their labour cost side of things, and it was affecting the bottom line. Well, when I first joined that business to come in to help improve it, it was we seem to not be making money. So Adam, we need you to assess what are the biggest roadblocks in our business and how we can succeed better and improve our bottom line. And one of the things that I did find in that business was one of the major things was our leakage when it came to labour cost. And I think, I know rostering, sometimes I go and talk to businesses when we introduced Wageloch and they're like, oh no, we don't have rosters, which everyone's just on standard hours. Well, essentially that is your roster, right? So just saying the word roster isn't a dirty word. It is, rostering is your planning around how you're going to, resource up your business. So it's not a dirty word. It is how you're resourcing your business. It could be that you're using standard hours, and that's all okay. Okay, we don't need to go and do complicated rosters like we're running a chicken treat store or something like that. It could be that these are our standard hours, these are the resources that we have planned out, and then how does that affect from a labour cost point of view for our business. So I'll hand over to Anthony and let him go through the demonstration.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. Hello, everyone. And thank you for having me. My name is Anthony Del Col, and I'm Head of Business Development over here at Wageloch Workforce Management. What I would like to go through first is just a couple of slides. They're not that boring, so it's okay. But it's just a bit of an explainer of who we are and what we do for those who have no idea who Wageloch is. So I will just get some confirmation that we can all see that. It's all good.
Yep, we're all good. And just
Fantastic.
before Anthony starts, if anyone does have any questions or queries throughout the session, you can either put them in the chat or the Q&A
Yes.
section. We'll be monitoring that. And, the session is open for you guys to come off mute and have a conversation if you want to dig a little bit deeper into a certain aspect of the demonstration as well.
100%. Always welcome to answer any questions on the fly. So what is Wageloch? So we are predominantly a rostering and time and attendance platform that we heavily integrate into MYOB Acumatica for basically complete payroll automation. Our biggest strengths are your rostering software, your electronic timesheets, your time and attendance, your multiple clocking in and out devices, our HR onboarding tools, which tie back directly into Acumatica, and of course, the overarching software integration. But what else can we do for you? We are in a very unique scenario on the market where we actually go through a tailored implementation with you. So we understand that implementing a system like this is very daunting when you look at it from the outside perspective. So we actually provide you a project manager that will run through every step of the way, ensuring that you're on course. All the correct information is flowing through. They are your number one trainer, your number one source of truth for the full tailored implementation of the software. We also are going to be doing your advanced award interpretation, as well as any EBA, IFAs, anything like that. We can custom build all of those rules, regulations directly into the system. So when you are rostering your staff, when you are finalizing their timesheets, it is all breaking down the way that you expect to be paying your staff members. And it's all happening in real time. So you do get that full wage and labor costs happening in real time throughout your budgets and timesheeting. We've got our personalized staff onboarding experience, which can also include your contracts and policies and digital signing as well. We won't be going through that today, but it is definitely, if it is something of interest, more than happy to talk about it later on. We're going to be going through our smart rostering tools, massive leave and availability management as well in the software to make those processes a lot more streamlined. Flexible clocking options, 24/7 work coverage as well. So if you're a 24/7 business that has certain rules around, one shift going from one day into the next, it's fully compliant and can completely work around those scenarios as well. Role-based access control, so a lot of security settings around showing information on what some users can and can't see. Accurate job costing as well, which can directly tie into the Acumatica sub-accounts, as well as projects and project tasks. And also we are multi-site experts in the fact that we can actually go and link up multiple instances of the software that all talk to each other and then can just make sure all of it goes through to payroll appropriately. Our customer journey looks a little bit like this, where you've got 4 key stages. Setup is where we build and configure the software with you. It's where your award interpretation or EBA or IFA interpretation happens. That's all bedded down. We then go into the integration phase where we integrate into Acumatica, pull through all your current information from there, including all employee accrual balances and everything into the system. We then go into deployment where you are trained on your configured software. So it's not any demos or sandbox environmental like this. We are teaching you with your live data. And then after that, we then go into your first payroll where we sit through and ensure that everything that we have built does accurately go through into your payroll system. We sit through and we go through the payroll processing until you're 100% happy. After that, you then go into the management phase where you're just looked after whenever you need us. You call us up, you send us an email, we'll be there for you whenever you need. On top of that as well, we do have a help desk based over in South Australia, over here at head office, where we are open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. And you can just pick up the phone, you can give us a call, and we will be there to assist you. And we also do have a payroll priority line. So if you are experiencing any issues on payday, you get jumped ahead of the queue if there is one. But apart from that, I'm now going to share my screen and we're going to hop into the Wageloch system. But before we do that, are there any questions from what was just explained there, guys? I'm going to take the silence as that I explained things very well. So thank you. So what we are seeing here is the administrative side of the Wageloch system. And we are just going to go through just a little bit of our clocking in and out options. So I know that tracking of employees' hours is very important. And we do have quite a number of solutions to track that information. I would say our big three main ones are fingerprint scanning, facial recognition, and the mobile clocking app. The clocking app is what we'll be going through today, as it's the easiest to show in an environment like this, but just know that there are alternatives if you want your employees going to a physical location to clock in and out on site. We also have iris scanning, PIN codes and passwords, and RFID clocking in and out. So I know that a lot of you may be in manufacturing or production environments where employees may have RFID tags already. We can always discuss repurposing those tags as well to also clock in and out to the Wageloch system. There's always the chance that it may be compatible. But the mobile app is really the employee's perspective. And we're just going to go through some clocking in and out. With the system, they simply click clock in. This could be the same as walking up to the facial recognition device, putting their fingerprint down, etc. They can nominate a department, what role they are working within that department, any optional allowances, and also leave management notes. So if they're clocking in early, clocking in late, and they need to tell their manager about these scenarios, they can very easily send a note directly to the manager. They simply then clock in, and then they simply clock out after the fact when they're finished. So in the grand scheme of things, the clock in and out times are used as a visual aid and are really the comparison of an employee writing down in a time book of when they started work and when they finished work. It's not going to be the be all and end all of what the employee gets paid, but it is used as a visual aid during the timesheet approval process in the software to ensure that the manager knows how to accurately pay the staff member. There's also going to be other functionality like viewing the employee's roster, log booking if they're using their own personal vehicles. They have their leave and availability management as well. And managers will have access to the shift swapping functionality and the messaging center functionality where they can blast out alerts to employees. But we need to get into the nitty-gritty of the rosters. A big thing is compliance and accuracy. When it comes to the Wageloch rosters, you're going to get all of that in a very simple to digest format. When we're initially creating our rosters, there are many ways that we can start that up. It could be a standard hour template that we've built, a seasonal template that we've built, rotational rosters, if that's how you run your business. You can copy from a previous pay period, and you can also just start from a blank roster. In this scenario, we're just going to start from a blank. We're going to select our pay period that we want to build. And then we are greeted with our days in the pay period. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, through to Sunday, week 1 or week 2 if you're fortnightly. Right now, no hours, no cost, no nothing. To simply add a shift in for an employee, you go add, you select your employees, and we start picking who we want built into this roster. To create a shift, it is simply you left click at the start time, you drag it across to the end time, you have the total hours, and then you also have the total shift cost. This is the award interpretation happening in real time. What you see there is your projected gross wages for that employee. Left click, drag drop, left click, drag drop, drag drop, drag drop, drag drop. You can also notice that we have different colors for these particular shifts, signaling that these are the different departments that we are rostering our staff members into. Of course, if you have different department managers looking after their own team members, you will have one big overarching roster. But when I log in as the race view manager, for an example, I will only see the information that I am supposed to. And if you don't want me to see any of the dollar figures, you can also hide that away from the manager as well. But there's a lot of filtering tools that you can use to make this process even more efficient. As you can see now, we've got a total of 38 hours, and this now one particular day in my roster is costing me $1,211.50. You can see straight away how much this day is costing you. There are a lot of efficiencies that you can build in here. So if Alphonse, for example, has the same shift for every day in the roster, we can just copy this across the roster from Tuesday to Friday, and his roster is completed. We can right-click to manipulate the data a little bit more by inserting a 30-minute unpaid break into your shift. This is going to keep your rosters incredibly compliant if you were to be ever audited. This won't necessarily say that Alphonse has a 30-minute break between 12:45 to 1:15. When we print or publish this roster, it's going to say for Alphonse, he has a 30-minute break allocated for his shift. So you are keeping 100% compliant with your rules and regulations. There are other scenarios in here where you may have an employee working across multiple cost centers or multiple departments in the business on a particular day. When we right-click on the shift, we have the ability to change departments for the employee. So they are working in Sydney Downs for one part of their shift and then landscape yard for the rest. If we are using job costing in Acumatica, for an example, we can cost these two different shifts to two different subcodes in your payroll, or two different projects or two different project tasks as well. And your budgets and all your reports in the system will accurately break up those wage expenditures per the individual department. In the award interpretation as well, we do have higher functionality where we can even override the standard calculations. So if you may have an employee working under two different pay rules, they are working under the hospitality industry award on one part of their shift and then the clerk's private sector for the second part of their shift. We can build awards within awards. It's award inception at this point, but we can completely override the standard calculations to whatever we want it to. So pretend this overtime says marketing shift, admin shift. It will then change the way that that shift needs to pay entirely. So regardless of them having an award breakdown or a normal set of rules on how they need to be paid, we can build in overrides so you can pay your staff whatever you want. You just need to tell us. It's as simple as that. When it comes to job costing as well, you have your department, but then you can apply a job or a role over the top. So they are working in the Yatla department, but they are specifically working on job or role 3, and that will be separated out when it comes to payroll as well. There are multiple ways that we can be doing this roster. We can do it daily, like this. We can do it by individual staff member, like we see here, where I can just go and create all the shifts that I want for Amy. Or we can build it in a grid view, like this. All 3 ways yield the exact same result, which is just your projected gross wages, your projected roster. Going back to the list view for Amy Adams, with our award interpretation engine, if you have rules around overtime or time in lieu, or if it needs to change to any particular penalty throughout the pay period, we can color coordinate these shifts as well to highlight when they are going into different pay items automatically. As we can see here for Amy Adams, we have now rostered her for exactly 38 hours, and it's costing me $1,236.25. If I give her even one more shift, it is going to start breaking down into overtime in real time. I drag this shift out for one more hour. We can now notice that we have a darker green on this bar, signifying that it is going into overtime. So there's no guesswork involved from the manager's perspective when they are building their rosters, because they can see these scenarios happening in real time. Even if they don't have access to see the financials in the software, it will still alert them that they are rostering the staff member into overtime. My favorite tool in all of this is the roster budget, which is going to be built in real time as you are creating those pretty colored bars in the roster. You can see how much each shift is costing you per individual staff member. If you're a fortnightly payroll, you'll have a week 1 total, a week 2 total, and a full fortnightly total per individual staff member. You've got your individual daily totals for the fortnight or week, and then you've got your full roster cost. Again, all of these reports can be broken down by your departments or cost centers as well, so you can see your wage expenditures per individual department. And if you want to get really into the nitty-gritty of it as well, you can set up budgets per individual department or KPIs that your managers need to adhere to, and it will alert them if they have breached those budgets, and they will not be able to save or publish the roster if they have broken those KPI thresholds. As you are building out your timesheet or your roster, we can actually get a projection of what the timesheet is going to look like. If we show our timesheet report here, it's all well and good that we know that our roster is costing us $3,488, but how is it costing us that? In here, we have the Wageloch pay items. These will be directly linked to your Acumatica equivalent pay items. So as a part of the integration, we build the award interpretation with our pay items. And then when we integrate it into Acumatica with you, we will then link up the pay items. So when this scenario happens in Wageloch, this scenario happens in Payroll. As we can see here, we've got ordinary hours, overtime, double time, and uniform allowances being costed for in this period. I can see straight away that Amy has been costed for 5 hours in overtime. That should never be the case. I can now go back and fix up that because I've visually seen it happen in real time. There's just a lot of smart tools in here to make this process more effective. On top of that as well, another way that you can build the roster, if you have a very heavy casual pool of staff members, is you can create the shift first. You then are creating a shift for landscape yard. So when you go to select staff members, it's only going to show you the employees that can work in that department. And we can also show the cost difference between each staff member. So if I was to give this shift to Hetty Macbeth, it is going to cost me $87.50. However, if I was to give it to Carmen, it will cost me $103. Now I have a choice here. Carmen has more experience, but Hetty's going to cost me less. On this day, is it a busier day of trade? Do I have to have the person on with more experience? Or is it a more slower day where I can maybe give it to the less experienced employee? You're going to know that better than I am, but I'm just going to give it to the cheapest person. Hetty now owns that shift. We have a lot of smarts around shift swapping as well. It can be done from the employee's perspective in the mobile app, but it can also be done from the manager's perspective directly in the roster itself as well. If I wanted to replace Carol, for an example, I can click on Carol's name. It will again show me everybody who is available on that day, and it will also show me the cost difference, but this time it is in comparison between the original employee versus the new employee replacing them. So I can either save myself $5 or spend an additional $48. I'm going to save myself $5 on that shift. There's a lot of tools in here where you get more clarity. If you are in a retail environment, for example, and you're doing sales transactions, we can then build in further sales to wage percentages. All you need to do is add in your projected sales that you're going to make on this day. For an example, I think I'm going to make 9,000 in sales. I can see straight away I've got projected wages built for Monday in based off of my roster. And right away, my projected wage to sales percentage is 15.44%. It's really good, all things considered. But you can then set up KPIs in this as well, or alerts if you've gone over a projected wage to sales percentage. So then you can go back to your roster and build it more appropriate for the day. Of course, we can also tie in this functionality if you have a POS that we integrate into, so your actual sales get pulled through in real time against while you're actually finalizing the timesheet to then get your real actual wage to sales percentages as well. Now, the piece of resistance is you have built your roster. Your employees have clocked in and out. They've worked their shifts. You now need to finalize their hours appropriately. All we need to do.
I was just going to say, I was just going to pause while we're still just on the rosters. Anyone got any questions or queries around rosters before we move into the actual TNA or time and attendance? Put it in the chat if you like, if you're shy to come off mute. Okay. Take silence as golden, and we'll move on to...
Silence is golden. Beautiful. All right, so we've built our rosters. Our employees have clocked in and out. However, they will be clocking in and out. It is now time to actually finalize what has been done. I would always recommend doing this at the end of the day or the morning after. And we have specifically built this process really to be done daily or as often as possible. The more you finalize your timesheets, the more accurate it is going to be for payroll, because you're not chasing your tail following up with employees on scenarios that happened a week ago, a fortnight ago. We have designed it to be taken in bite-sized chunks throughout the pay period, so it's more accurate. What we are seeing here are 4 key bits of information to help us finalize the timesheets. Number 1 is the black bar. The black bar signifies the rostered projected shift. The second one is the colored bar underneath. These are going to be the paid hours. In this regard, it is mimicking what the rostered shift was. Third bit of information is a green line for a clock in time, and the fourth is a red line for a clock out time. Me, as the manager, it is my duty to move the colored bar where I want the staff member to be paid. So right now, it is just my projected roster has been injected directly into the timesheet, but we can still automate the timesheet based on employee clock in and out times. If you are in a more ad hoc situation where you don't have a roster or you don't have a schedule, we can automate this according to the clock in and out times with a lot of variances that we can put in automatically. So in reality, all I need to do, this employee Hetty McBath at the top worked an extra hour. Do I want to pay that? Yes or no? I just need to drag the bar out an extra hour. It will then take into consideration the award rules, EBAs, IFA rules. If that needs to fall into a different payroll category, it will do that automatically and recalculate the total for that day. If I don't want to pay that hour, she was just lollygagging in the break room at the end of her shift, and then she put her fingerprint down as she was walking out. I don't want to pay for that hour. I will leave the shift as it is. You only need to move these colored bars when you want to alter based off of the schedule. You may have Carmen who arrived an hour late. I will drag that back. They will not get paid for that hour. If they're a full-timer, if they're a part-timer who have contractually obligation for hours, we can then fill that in with a leave. We don't have to go through any leave approval process or submitting leave applications to manually inject that data directly into the timesheet. You may have Clarine here who was on personal leave. She had it pre-booked, but she doesn't need that leave anymore. She actually rocked up to work. Hi, Anthony. Can I actually come into work today? My doctor's appointment got cancelled. Yep, sure. Please come in. I can then right-click on the shift, Now, we discussed before about applying different rates to a shift, but now we're taking those different rates away. We are now applying the normal breakdown to those hours. It will cancel off the leave, refund the leave balance, and then it will recalculate the shift to be a standard calculation instead. You may have a scenario with Alphonse, who he clocked in, he clocked out, but he was never scheduled to work. I can verify that, yeah, he did show up to work. It was unplanned shift. I need to pay him. All I need to do, exactly like I do in my roster, is left click at the start time, drag it to the end of the shift, insert my breaks, change my departments, add my jobs that may have happened throughout the day, and it will completely calculate all of his hours for him directly into the timesheet. Doesn't need clock in and out times, doesn't need a rostered shift. I just built the hour straight into my timesheet. Everything that we are doing here is this time. This is the actual gross wage. In here, we can also then pull through, like I was saying, with your sales. We can then say, okay, we actually did 11,000 in sales on Monday. We are now sitting at 54% of my sales is going to my wages for this day. Kind of missed the mark on this day with my roster and my timesheet. But really, you've gone through, you've made your corrections, you've made your adjustments, you then finalize the day, and it's locked in. You can always unfinalize and make changes, but once you've finalized, it starts generating your electronic timesheet in the background in the software, and it's going to start preparing it for an export into Acumatica. When your full pay period has been completed, your managers are doing this day by day. It's now payroll morning. If they are up to date, they should only have to approve the previous day's work. It should be no more than a 10 to 15 minute task, and then payroll is going to be in your hands. We can then go to the pre-submission summary. What this pre-submission summary is going to show you is the real raw data that is going to be exported into Acumatica. You have your pay items at the top. We saw this before in the budget, but this time this is your actual. What you see here is exactly what is going to appear in Acumatica when you hit submit. The aim of this is to have this all pre-written out for you. So all you need to do is open up Acumatica on payday, you open up your pay run, you click the button that says import timesheet, and all of this is pre-filled out with the Wageloch data. Your 2, 3, 4 hour payroll task can be cut down to 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It's really just the time that you really want to dedicate to reviewing the data. It shouldn't be manually keying it in. It shouldn't be this correction, that correction when it comes to payroll. It should all be done in Wageloch. But of course, you can still do your normal payroll processes, and we're not going to stop you from that. We just want to eliminate as much manual data entry as possible to eliminate as much human error in payroll.
Yeah, I guess so. The one of the poll questions is how long does it take, and most people are sort of saying 4 hours.
Yeah,
but it's this is taking out a lot of that chasing and pre-work that's going on in the background. You know, like you might take only 4 hours to process payroll, but it's that preparation before, and if you are relying on manual systems, it's, you know, how much leakage there is as well when people aren't really checking and verifying the information.
Exactly, spot on. But in reality, when we are happy with the data that we see, all we need to do is hit submit, open up Acumatica, and process the payroll. It is that simple, guys. It is very smart, very intuitive from the user's perspective, very advanced in the background, but that is nothing that you need to worry about. That's why our team is there to help build these systems for you. You shouldn't need to know how to build a rocket. That's our job. Your job is just to more effectively roster your staff and finalize their hours. Case closed. that is my presentation completed. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay. Any questions or queries from anyone on the call? Anyone that wants to delve into anything a little bit more in those screens? We have finished a little bit ahead of time, which is great. Anthony's he's a well-oiled machine when it comes to these presentations. I haven't seen a bad one yet.
Have a little bit of a time for a Q&A. That's all right.
Yeah. I mean, for some people who are on the call, we've got clients that, we've got some clients that are maybe 20, 30 employees. And then we've got some that are, a couple of hundred. I think, on this call, actually, we've got Adam Hood. They're already using the platform. So yeah, I mean, Adam, if you're there and you can provide any feedback how it's been, but it's it's obviously a really good system to use to capture that time and attendance. No, if you've got any questions, more than likely, you can put them in the chat as well if you want. All right, Anthony. Well, that was good. As I say, it's a well-oiled presentation that you've got there. So thanks very much for your time.
That's all right. My pleasure.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Well, have a good afternoon. And if you have any questions or queries, by all means, just email me directly. I'm happy to answer those. If you want to have a more in-depth demonstration with Anthony, just let me know and I can set that up as well. I'll probably meet with Anthony at least once a month with clients. So yeah, just reach out and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you again, everybody.
Thanks,
I really
Anthony.
appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Have a great one. Bye.
See you.